For the last 10 years, there's been evidence of viral activity in Jefferson Parish, mainly the West Nile virus.
West Nile is just a type of encephalitis. Encephalitis is something that affects the brain and spinal tissue. It's basically a neurological disorder.
Well, the virus usually manifests itself in two forms. There's a neuroinvasive form of the virus, which is a very serious form of the virus with very serious consequences. And there's also an asymptomatic form of the virus where the person may not show any symptoms at all, and flu-like symptoms.
Joint pains are sometimes associated with West Nile, nausea,
headache, aching bones.
So mosquitoes can have the potential to transmit disease. Only certain mosquitoes that we have are capable of transmitting those diseases.
The consequences of those viruses can be so devastating.
There's something to be concerned about because of the potential for disease transmission, and especially during those months that encephalitis transmission is most common, and that being August, September, and October.
Well, our overall goal is to certainly reduce the number of disease-carrying mosquitoes in the parish, and also to reduce nuisance levels of mosquitoes.
People are most familiar with the procedures that we use, the trucks to spray the neighborhoods and so forth, but there's a lot more that goes into mosquito control.
Our surveillance methods allow us to detect the presence of the virus and escalate our control process in order to reduce risk.
Information is put together and compiled to determine where the trucks go, as well as dispatching a lot of daytime activities and control efforts.
It is a public health issue, and it's a public health issue that crosses jurisdictional boundaries.
Jefferson Parish and Mosquito Control Services do a variety of things to control mosquitoes here in Jefferson Parish, and that includes controlling the adult mosquitoes, controlling the larval mosquito, and doing a variety of surveillance activities to determine where the mosquitoes are most prevalent, both in the larval stage as well as the adult mosquito stage. And that also includes looking for things in disease, St. Louis encephalitis, and Eastern equine encephalitis, which are of big concern to residents, especially this year, due to the impact of West Nile being brought in by some of the migratory birds that are out there.
One thing that we're proud of is building this laboratory for use in Jefferson Parish and all the other contracts that we do. One of the ways that we make sure that our chemicals are doing what they're supposed to is we mimic the trucks driving through the neighborhoods. The spray truck will actually move down the road. We have replicate cages set 100 feet, 200 feet, and 300 feet from the road. And what we'll do is we'll actually pass the spray truck. It'll be spraying like it does normally in the neighborhood, and the chemical will actually move across the field, interacting with these cages. By doing this, we can see if our chemicals are killing the mosquitoes, and the efficacy is still good. By doing the experiment, you didn't kill the mosquitoes during the process, but you did kill the mosquitoes with the chemical. What he's doing right now is what's called a bottle bioassay. Just like we are, mosquitoes are able to adapt, and we want to make sure they're not adapting and our chemical is less efficient. We like to rotate 3 or 4 times a year and throw different pitches at the mosquitoes, and we think that's one of the reasons why we don't see a lot of tolerance in our mosquito populations. So what he's going to do is actually coat the bottle with a specific dosage. Once the bottle is coated, he's going to introduce some mosquitoes to it and see how long it takes for the mosquitoes to die.
Basically what we have here is a collection of mosquitoes from throughout the parish, and what we're going to do is we're going to put them in these test tubes, grind them up, and test for West Nile. 2 milliliters of this grinding solution, along with some BBs, which assist in grinding the mosquitoes up. The BBs are going to spin around and break the mosquitoes to small pieces. I'm going to pipette pureed mosquitoes into a smaller test tube and place a test strip right into here. And as you can see, there's no line on this one, therefore it's a negative test.
If we were unable to use the laboratory facilities that the state offers, we would be self-sustaining and able to do all these type of tests, in a sense, help protect the people of Jefferson Parish.
program consists of ground and aerial spraying, viral surveillance that takes place from March through October of every year. And there is a public education campaign, and we also do complaint intake.
It's an automated system that residents can call and report activity such as potential breeding site activity, concerns about areas for that breeding in the parish, that they can report those activities to us, and our inspectors then during the daytime can go out and look at those areas, see if they're breeding mosquitoes and take the appropriate action if necessary.
We encourage residents to call if they're experiencing problems with mosquitoes in that area, because complaints are one way to gauge information about mosquito populations in any given area.
The call hotline is not really directed towards a single mosquito complaint of someone seeing a couple mosquitoes out there. It's more directed towards a situation where people are being inundated by mosquitoes, or they see a breeding habitat that is of important concern, something such as a broken sewer pipe that may be leaking material out into a flooded area that could potentially breed mosquitoes, or that they've seen an area of standing water that has the little wigglers in it that people most often recognize as mosquito larvae. Those type of reports are something that people should call about. We can use those customer service reports to supplement our other data points that we're collecting to dispatch our vehicles as well as our daytime activities.
The surveillance program consists of the trapping of mosquitoes.
The trap that we have here in the back is one called a New Jersey light trap. What it is a light bulb mechanism that draws the mosquitoes into an area. Inspectors will come 3 to 4 times a week and bring those samples back. We get historical data off of these particular traps. It gives us very good indications over a period of time as to whether the mosquitoes are getting more or less in an area.
And chickens are a cost-effective method for us to do viral surveillance in the area. The parish has over 21 flocks of sentinel chickens stationed throughout the parish in areas where mosquito breeding is known to occur.
Once a week, the minute blood sample is taken from those chickens and sent to the LSU Animal Diagnostic Laboratory to determine if there's encephalitis in the area.
And what that allows us to do is detect the presence of the virus in an area, escalate our response protocols, and address and reduce vector mosquito populations, hopefully before the virus manifests itself in the human population.
The chickens are not affected by the West Nile at all. They can then go on to lay eggs, and the eggs aren't affected by the West Nile, and basically they're cared for and fed in coops that we put out throughout the parish.
When we receive information from the LSU Veterinary Diagnostic Lab that either a mosquito sample or a chicken serum, or in the case of a human case that's reported from DHH, we have a response protocol.
And what this entails is a variety of different things, including public education in the area, telling the people of the area that we have encephalitis activity. There's a spray regimen that we do, as well as treating ditches and catch basins for the larval treatment. And then it's a much more vast surveillance regimen where we put traps in an immediate area, spreading throughout that area, and increase the amount of surveillance and testing of those traps for West Nile and the other encephalitides that are out there. Evening crews will spray an area 3 consecutive evenings with the spray trucks and supplement with some hand equipment depending on the particular situation. Then our crews will canvass each area looking for potential breeding sites, as well as treating all the drains and ditches in an area. A variety of what we call gravid traps or West Nile traps and some Center for Disease Control traps will be put out in an area following all of the control efforts, determine both that the mosquito population has reduced below threshold levels and that now that there's no more further encephalitis activity in the area.
And allows us to reduce risk.
This is something that could potentially be a detriment if a disease were acquired. 2 to 5% of people end up being fatal. So it's something that should be concerning to residents, and they should take appropriate precautions.
We encourage residents to police their own property,
making sure that windows and doors fit tightly, as well as window screens do not have holes in them, and that their yard does not have the potential breeding sites that may be attributed to those mosquitoes that could transmit such things as West Nile.
Artificial containers in and around the home are a big source of mosquito breeding.
From flower pot dishes,
tires,
clogged gutters,
buckets,
children's toys.
Police your home for standing water.
Anything really that can hold water could possibly breed mosquitoes. In these areas, we see a lot of times having mosquitoes breeding in them.
The Asian tiger mosquito, which is a notorious container breeding mosquito, often lays its eggs in containers.
These are the areas that you could potentially see breeding of the mosquitoes that could potentially carry West Nile.
It's also known to transmit the West Nile virus.
So we would ask the residents to help us by eliminating a lot of these breeding sites.
If you have a swimming pool, please maintain it with a functioning pump and filter.
Those areas that you cannot empty need to be flushed out with a garden hose. There are some things at the lawn and garden places that you can actually treat those sites with, but the easiest way is really to flush those areas out if they cannot be emptied.
Mosquito control services will provide homeowners who may have fountains or ponds with mosquito control fish.
What we're using is a native fish here to Louisiana called Gambusia finnish.
Put into semi-permanent or permanent water sources to eat mosquito larvae.
When mosquito larvae do become present in the area, they can prolifically feed on those mosquito larvae.
The fish also are an important component of a biological control method.
The particular fish that we use has the potential to eat around 250 mosquito larvae per day. We provide the fish to the residents for free. If you live here in Jefferson Parish, you can call our number and we'll actually bring fish out to a potential breeding site and stock that site. It is definitely a year-round program.
Our general mosquito control services, spraying in response to nuisance activity, that occurs year-round as needed.
Certain times of the year, we see more activity, of course, in encephalitis during the fall of the year, and the spring of the year has larger pest mosquito populations. In those times when there's less mosquito activity, we're still providing encephalitis surveillance as well as monitoring the mosquito population, and during those times we still continue to spray. They're out there doing larviciding treatments, controlling the larval or immature mosquito, as well as doing adult spraying on an as-needed basis. So it really depends on the time of year and the mosquito population, but being that this year specifically we had very little winter, we were out spraying in January and February.
We have a very good working relationship with that contractor.
If we had stopped mosquito control altogether, the mosquito populations would be much larger. Also, we would risk further transmission of diseases such as West Nile and other diseases that are transmitted by mosquitoes.
They've been very professional and very responsive to citizens' complaints.
The normal mosquito will live for about 6 to 8 weeks if it's unaffected by such things as environmental conditions and mosquito control, and those populations would become huge even in the city areas as well as the outlying rural areas.
It's a very technical process that's based on scientific principles, and those principles are incorporated into a comprehensive strategy.
The lack of mosquito control would make it much more uncomfortable for residents in Jefferson Parish.